Real Tekken. I must have heard this exact sentence mentioned in a certain corner of the Tekken community around 100 times now, and each time, the argument kicks off about what constitutes this so-called real Tekken. In every single one of these instances, it would either veer off to lighthearted humor, which I'm actually in favor of, or in the less preferred scenario, become a debate about invalidating other people's opinions just to feel better about oneself. Which, let's be honest, is pretty high up there in the tier list of fun Tekken related things you can do right now, but that's another topic for another time. So, going back to the real Tekken thing, due to my unending love for Tekken and its community, I have taken it upon myself to delve into the fabric of Tekken and try to wrestle an answer out of it. I tried to find a concrete and tangible meaning to that phrase, and believe you me, it wasn't easy. I did quite a lot of studying, researching, and improving, and at the end of it all, here's what I found. The discourse about what real Tekken is actually isn't a single debate that is taking place, but there are in reality two arguments that are happening at the same time. And the fact that a good number of people haven't realized this yet goes to show two things. First of all, how most people aren't trying to find the objective truth, but they just wanna be right. But that's another can of worms I don't wanna open right now. And second of all, it's how a lot of topics are shared between the two debates. So, if you haven't identified the two debates that are taking place simultaneously, here they are. The first point of contention is about what I'd like to call the ship of Theseus, Tekken Edition, and it's about how many bits and parts you can change about Tekken until the players start viewing it as something else entirely. For example, if you keep indirectly nerfing lateral movements by improving the tracking on key moves, if you simplify Oki by making it relatively risk-free to just stand up, if you nerf keep out and improve rushdown across the board to the point where just moving around and waiting for your opponent to make a mistake is simply a losing game. If you do all of these things, then what will be left of the original? I actually somewhat agree with this side of the debate. Tekken has undoubtedly changed, and if you don't feel like adapting to the changes in question, you're just better off letting it go and living in your memories of a better time, where Raven and Steve had infinites, and you'd get wasted for looking at Jinpachi the wrong way. But, if the Tekken we know and love has truly and completely been lost, how is it that the Tekken players that have been considered the best for so many years are still on top both worldwide and at the regional level? I mean, since it's not the real Tekken they were good at previously, they would have had to unlearn some of the skills they worked into their muscle memory and decision-making processes while simultaneously learning that game's specific mechanics and the such. But they obviously didn't have to do it because, hear me out, it fundamentally never changed. Underneath that surface level of waiting around and looking out for a chance to do your thing in T7 is the same thing that's underneath this unrelenting offense and pressure in T8, which is always being a step ahead of your opponent. In T7, my opponent is in rage, so now I have to watch out for rage drive, and even if I block it, I minus a bajillion and I have to guess again. In T8, my opponent's heat is almost over, so now I have to watch out for heat smash, which does less damage but gives more frames on block, so I have to guess again. Or heat dash, which launches if it hits, but is +5 on block, so I do have some wiggle room after blocking it. Here you can see that nothing has really changed on a deeper level. So, to put it in fewer words, Tekken has changed on a certain level, but it is still the same fundamentally. And if that level of change has irked you to the point of it being a deal breaker and stopping you from playing the game, I'd say you either don't have enough time or don't feel like putting in enough time to get used to the nuances in the game, or you're just playing surface level Tekken this whole time. However, that is not to say that Tekken 8 is in a good or even average state right now. The rank system is whack, the balance is dog water, and the bugs are making me wanna pull my hair out too. But there's a difference between saying that Tekken 8 is flawed or unfinished and saying that it is straight up just not real Tekken, in which case you automatically start looking like one of these two. The first side of the real Tekken debate, the one which I just talked about, is one that carries a lot of subjectivity with it. I have my own biases, as does everyone, and as such, I am able to understand and engage with the different opinions that surround this subject. I cannot, however, say the same thing about the other side of the real Tekken debate, which could be summarized in 2 words as a skill issue. But in 444 words, it could be seen as the fear of the unknown concerning character-specific mechanics, and even more so when the character in question brings so many foreign mechanics that might as well be alien technology to the Tekken player base. And in all of the Tekken, there is no character that quite embodies this phenomenon like good old... This guy is perhaps the very origin of the real Tekken thing, because as previously mentioned, he brought too many foreign mechanics to what was supposed to just be normal, honest Tekken. So now, people are complaining about all the different things Akuma can do, the most important of which was his EXF ADC, which allowed for death combos, an unseeable low normal hit launcher, a 10-frame normal hit launcher, and a high crush 12-frame counter hit launcher, all of which did around 90 plus damage in the right hands, among other things. Now of course, people complained about this, and the community wouldn't have any of it. You'd think Ranked was filled with Akumas doing touch of death combos off of unseeable lows and 12-frame mids. But here's the catch. In Ranked, you would never play any Akuma player who's able to do these combos except maybe around here. And most Akumas you'd ever play online are just fireball spamming, DP abusing scrubs. The overwhelming majority of people only see Akuma's touch of death combos in tournament, and they whine about how this isn't real Tekken. Like bro, the Tekken is very real, and you're getting blown up by beginner level stuff that wouldn't even show up on the balancing team's radar. But now you're complaining about things you've never actually been hit with. The only people who ever give valid criticism about 2Ds and guest characters in this context are the pros. That's because they get hit with the really unfair stuff on a regular basis. And even then, not once do they say it's not real Tekken, but instead, they give precise points about the character's toolset that they think need nerfing. So all in all, if you struggle against a certain character, learn the matchup. By the time you reach the level where you have to deal with the stuff that genuinely has no counterplay, you'll have gained the maturity to not just say this isn't real Tekken, and conversely actually try to change other people's minds through structured arguments. Making this video has shed some light on a few things for me. The first of which is that when talking about Tekken, it is inexplicably difficult to get your thoughts out in writing while keeping it concise and meaningful. In a certain way, it might just be the one true cause of this whole real Tekken charade. I can't be bothered to write a paragraph to explain what I think about this thing, so I'll just chuck it under this umbrella term while repeating the same ideas in an echo chamber to get the feeling of external validation for my opinions, is understandably a very hard viewpoint to internalize. But if you don't abide by a certain level of complexity in communication, then you're gonna have problems, not just in Tekken, but in life as a whole. The second thing that making this video has helped me understand is that these 30 years of Tekken have created so many ideas and viewpoints and outlooks on such a wide array of topics that arguments about these subjects are just bound to start on the internet, and that's okay. But it's just that anyone who has an opinion on something but neither do they want to debate it nor do they have the credentials to back it up is just plain wrong more often than not. I guess what I'm really saying here is don't bother trying to convince someone who you know can't be convinced otherwise from the start. Finally, for the million-dollar question, what is real Tekken? As I see it, the answer to this depends on another very simple question, which is, why do you play Tekken? And there are only two relevant answers to this one, which are 1. You play for fun, or 2. You play to win. Now, these answers are discrete, there is no spectrum. If you land anywhere between the two, then you just derive fun from winning, which is ultimately the same thing as playing to win. So let's say you play for fun, but with the newer entries, you just find it less and less enjoyable to play the game, whether you win or lose, and regardless of which character you're up against. In this case, I'm sorry to say that telling people this isn't real Tekken is the most reasonable thing to do. If the person in question dislikes flow disrupting mechanics and enjoys things like shorter combos but can't seem to get into the deeper layer of Tekken and come out on the other side, I cannot dog on them for wanting to experience the game the same way they have experienced it for so long. And in this very particular case scenario, I think it is okay to just say that real Tekken truly has been lost. But on the other hand, let's say you play for fun, but you feel like you can't actually have fun when you get knowledge checked every 5 seconds and it makes you mad that you lose against gimmicks.
No! This game sucks! Cock! Penis! Ass!
But even then, you still kinda enjoy the game when the round goes your way.
Yes! This game is sick! This is the best game I've ever played in my life!
In this case, I'm afraid to say, you're just plain delusional. If you hate the game when you lose but you like it when you win, you're just playing to win, simple as. Which leads me to my next point. If you are playing to win, the fun doesn't come from the process of playing the game, it comes from the big ass you win screen with your character's outro at the end of the fight. And in order to win more and more, you have to lab more characters, you have to see which setups work and which don't, you have to play different people to learn to adapt better against different playstyles. It'll get to a certain point where even if you lose, you'll be happy about it, because either you learned something new and or you know the next time you play against that guy, you're gonna wipe the floor with him. And I'm not saying you have to be an aspiring pro player just to reach real Tekken. You can apply all of the above and more in as low a skill level as yellow ranks. Your first intentional throw break, your first time blocking and correctly punishing a hell sweep, your first time stuffing a heat smash because you knew exactly when it was gonna come out, and your first time doing a well-timed backdash to get away from down 3's clean hit range. These colossal milestones that manifest as small but noticeable improvements are the core and the essence of real Tekken. That's how I see it anyway. So yeah, that's about it. If you have any different ideas about what real Tekken means to you, you can always shove them right up your ass. You can always share them in the comments below to engage with the Tekken community, which we all know is the wisest, most intelligent, and least toxic of all communities. In the meanwhile, never stop improving, and see you next time.